Hi everyone, welcome to episode 87 of the Arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today it is Saturday, September 7th, and feeling good about some of the projects that I've worked on this past week. I have a couple new cast-ons, I have a finished spin, and yeah, just some exciting updates. There are some projects that I didn't work on this week that I had new cast-ons, and so usually when I have new cast-ons, I just kind of like work a lot on them when I cast them on. So my project count has kind of gone up, but I think I'm still under the 10 projects at a time range, which is like, I think that last year I really was kind of always in the double digits, which looking back now, I have no idea how I did that, but I think I am above 5 now. I'm definitely above 5. I mean, I'm reaching close to 10, but again, there's some projects that I haven't touched in a while, like my Stella quilt cushions. That's still, I didn't give up on them. I just need to dye yarn for them. That's why I haven't worked on them for a while, but I'm hoping soon I'll get that back working on my needles. But anyway, let's get started. So today I am not wearing a new finished object. This is something I finished, I think last year. This is my Birch Pullover by Andrea Mowry. I love this sweater so much, and there is a reason why. I mean, I wear this quite often. It's a very comfortable knit and just easy to wear and just, put on and be comfortable. But there's a reason why when I was thinking about what to wear this week, since I don't have a newly finished garment to wear, which is what I usually do for podcasts, I was thinking about what I should wear for podcasts, and I was like, oh, my Birch, because I am planning soon, sometimes I think later this month, to cast on another Birch pullover, my second Birch pullover. So I thought that I would wear this on the podcast just to kind of like, just because. So again, Birch Pullover by Andrea Mowry. The yarn I use for this is Woolberry Fiber Co. Very natural base. So this is the fingering weight yarn that is in the non-superwash merino base, and it is in the colorway I Smell Snow. I really, really love this knit. I made size 1. I used US 1.5 needles. That is 2.5 millimeter needles to knit this, which sounds absolutely crazy. It was a lot of knitting, but the finished object is just perfect. It's so good. It's so comfortable. Final measurements, I ended up with 37 inches in circumference, and so that gives me about 7 inches of positive ease. And I really like this fit, so when I am going to cast on my second Birch pullover, I'm just planning on knitting it the exact same way and the same size as I have this one, because I love it, and I want another one because I love wearing it. So I'll just stand up so you can see it really quickly. It's just a good size sweater. It's not cropped. It's just like, it's not oversized, but it's roomy and comfortable. You can see I like how the raglan stitches, like there's kind of like multiple going in that diagonal, like the ribbing. This is done in half fisherman's rib, and I just really like how it looks. It's very squishy. It's 2x2 ribbing for the cuffs and the neck, and I just love it. It's so comfortable. There is some, I don't know if you can see it, but there is pilling happening with this yarn, but I think it's just because it is a soft yarn, a non-superwash. I don't know if it being non-superwash means anything as far as the pilling, but it is a soft yarn. It's very soft. I love it, and so, it's fine with me. I don't, it doesn't really bother me, but there is just some pilling going on. I think if the light on the light, or the light here, you can see kind of that, but overall, like, it really is just kind of like under the arms, basically, is where it's happening. I love this sweater. It is so comfortable, fits really nice. It just took a very long time to knit, but again, so worth it. And after, I'm pretty sure it's been some time. like I didn't knit this and finish it this year. So it's been some time, maybe just a year from when I made this one. And so I'm feeling ready again to make another one. I knew that I was going to make another one. I just didn't know how long it would take for me to feel up to it again. But I've been wearing this a lot lately, and I know that I'm going to like it. And so I'm excited to have a second one. As far as color for my second one, I have plans. So I would like to make it in Explorer Knits, the fingering weight non-superwash as well. So another non-superwash yarn. Although I don't think I've ever knit with Explorer Knits non-superwash yarn. I'm forgetting what the name of it is, of the base. But the colorway I want to use is Bainbridge. It's so pretty. Honestly, I'm probably going to get the same. It's not going to be like a completely different color. I think, if anything, my next Birch will be a bit more pink in color from this one. This is more like gray and blue. But it's going to be similar vibes, which I'm totally fine with. So, yeah, I guess maybe, anyway. I was like, should I go with something completely different since it's the same pattern? And I don't want to have two very different looking colors. But I want to go with what I want to do and what's feeling good. And I want to make that with that yarn. I want to make this with that yarn. But there's still time for me to decide. But that's kind of my initial plans or my initial thoughts on that. So anyway, that's my not so quick what I am wearing today, but thought I'd share because it's also part of some, future planning a knit cast on. Okay, so let's actually talk about the things I have been working on this week. Let me pull up. Also, if you noticed, actually I'll talk about it at the end. I am in a different room than the past couple of weeks. I am just switching back rooms here and there, but I'm hoping that this will be the final room that I will be recording in. So again, I'm still figuring it out. The background will look different for the next few weeks, maybe even a couple months. But I'll talk about it near the end because it probably looks very different. Okay. So let me bring up this. This is my Milton cardigan by Locatelli. And I was just most recently working on this. I kind of worked on this a lot last weekend, like right after I filmed last week's video, and then I didn't work on it at all during the week, and then I picked it back up this morning, and I'm just trying to figure out how to where everything is right now because I am working on the sleeve. So I had to look back. Last week's video, I was like, did I start the sleeve last week or was that this week? It was this week. So the body is not done, but I put it on I just put it on hold, and I still have some like dangling yarn attached to it, but I basically finished. I didn't want to be in the middle of a row for the body, and so I just finished as many rows as I could before I finished with the fingering weight yarn, and then put the body on hold. It is a pretty decent length already. And so from working from the top and including the neck band and all of that going down the front, that all took me one skein of fingering weight and almost a full skein of the Suri that I'm using. So this is how much I have left that's still attached to the body. So it's kind of a bit of a mess right now, but so I really kind of only worked maybe like 4 rows on the body from last week, but I started on the sleeve and I'm almost done. This is the left sleeve, and let me show it to you here. Just kind of like hold it up. If you can tell by the stripes, there is short row shaping that is done on the sleeve, and also because there was kind of this like saddle shoulder like detail at the top here, this like little strip right here, it does continue on to the sleeve, and so that was just, it's a cute little detail. But yeah, there is short row shaping happening for the sleeve, and if you notice, there's stripes. I didn't even think about this, but short rows and with stripes is a little hard to keep track of. I mean, it really wasn't that difficult, but you had to concentrate. You had to make sure you know which row you were on, which it's easy to read your knitting, but it's just something you have to keep track of, in addition to doing the short rows. And the short rows for this one were wrap and turn short rows, not German short rows. And I think that you can change it out for German short rows if you don't like the wrap and turn short rows. But I really like to do what the pattern states, unless for some reason I'm not feeling it. But this time I was like, I want to do the wrap and turn. Every time I do these short rows, it's not often, I have to look up how to, do the pickup or how to knit the wrap when I come to it. I always forget, and there was one project where when I first learned how to do wrap and turn, I think that's what it's called, wrap and turn, short rows, that I picked them up wrong, and so you can see the wraps on the right side of the work. I didn't fix it. I was like, it's so small that only someone who really knows what they're looking for would see it, but I wanted to make sure I did it correctly this time, and I think I did, so it was fine. It worked out. The only thing about the striping is that because you're doing short rows also, you have to make sure, and the pattern states this too, which is really nice, otherwise I totally would have forgotten, but you do have to kind of like trap your yarn as you're doing the turn, so that when it's time to change your yarn, you're not like pulling it from like the narrow part of the shoulder, from the inner part before you do the short rows, because you're kind of like increasing that amount that you're knitting. And so that starting point, from where you last used one of the colors, the stripe colors, is going to be different. I hope that makes sense. But the pattern states like, oh, at this point, make sure you wrap your yarn, or like, you do the twisting to catch it so that it carries your yarn. You want to make sure you carry your yarn when you're doing the short rows for this, so that you don't have to cut your yarn and rejoin for every single stripe. So that was really nice. And then there are decreases that happen pretty consistently throughout. I think you can see that just from the shape of how this looks. I think I stopped decreasing. It pretty much happened very evenly from maybe around like here all the way to maybe around here. And so that worked out really nice. I like the shape of this. I tried it on. It fits really nicely. I was worried that, to me, the shoulders on this looked really short. Like they didn't really go all the way to my shoulder wearing, and so I was worried that the sleeve was going to feel really tight, but it actually doesn't. It fits super nicely, and it's very comfortable, and so I can even wear, I tried this on just wearing a t-shirt under, and for me, if something's really tight, like if a cardigan sleeve is really tight, and I put it on over a t-shirt, and I have to kind of like tuck the sleeve into this, like tuck the t-shirt sleeve into the cardigan sleeve so that doesn't bunch. I don't like doing that, but thankfully, I thought I was going to have to do that for this, but thankfully for this one, I don't. It's really nice, and so I'm very, very happy and pleased with that. So the armhole depth is really nice. The sleeve circumference is really nice, and so I'm overall very happy with this. I am working on the cuff right now, which is 3 inches of 1x1 rib. I was like, 3 inches is kind of a lot, but it's looking cute, and I'm not opposed to a really long cuff. It's just kind of annoying to knit, but I'll knit it. And yeah, so I'm almost there. Like I think I might be even like less than half an inch away from finishing the cuff. And then I know for sure one thing I'm going to modify is that the pattern says to bind off in pattern, but I'm going to do a tubular bind off because I prefer that for 1x1 rib bind offs, and especially for cuffs that might be kind of, I want to make sure it's stretchy. Like I think you can see it here that it's going to be, if I accidentally bind off, if I do a normal bind off, and I do it too tight, it's probably not going to stretch really nicely over my hand. And I like it to be stretchy because I like to roll up my sleeves like this sometimes, because I wear my knitwear majority of the days of the time. And so that means that I'm usually like doing stuff. So if I'm like washing my hands, doing the dishes, or I just kind of like want this part to be not have sleeves, I like to roll up my sleeves, and I like for it to be, you know, it can't be too tight that it can't go over this part of my arm. And I also like it to be not too loose, so that if I put my arm down, that it comes down. So I think that this is actually going to be a really nice fit, and a longer cuff also I feel like helps with the keeping it up here. It just has a bit more closeness to kind of help with that. So anyway, I'm just very happy with how the sleeve came out. Excuse me. And I will say it was kind of annoying to knit, only because it is stripes in the round, and so I have to keep like making sure my yarn doesn't get twisted with each other, but it's fine. It's just not, it's not really like a TV knit. I can't really like watch TV and knit on this. Also because knitting with one strand of Suri is hard to do if you're not looking at it. And so I feel like I have to look at my knitting when I'm knitting the stripes that have just the Suri. So that's that. So that's probably the only reason why this is taking longer than maybe it would for me to finish this. Although I did almost finish this whole sleeve in a week. That's not bad. I don't know if I can get myself to do the second sleeve to this amount, you know, next week, because honestly the short rows were, whew, it took some time, took some mental energy, took some yarn management, but I kind of also just want to get it over with. So maybe I'll just like get through that part, and so that I'm working in the round again for the sleeve, and then just like leave it alone for a little bit. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see what I'm feeling like working on this week. But speaking of yarn, or maybe that was not a great transition. Yarn. I did not talk about the yarn that I'm using for this, besides just saying fingering weight and Suri. The fingering weight yarn I'm using for this is Woolberry. They're both Woolberry. This is Berry Natural. Wow, it seems like I'm on this trend of like using a lot of non-superwash yarn lately, and also Woolberry yarn. Berry Natural in the colorway Seashore. So it's a very pretty, I feel like, gray blue. I really like it. And the Suri is Woolberry, Berry Suri in the colorway Camp Woolberry. And oh, yeah, one thing I did notice was, because I have 2 skeins of each of this to make this cardigan, and so I started a new skein for both of them to start the sleeve, and this Suri skein has a lot more brown in it than the first one, because if you look at the sleeve, I don't know if that lighting is like, you can see more brown in this. Actually, let me flip it this way too. To me, I see more brown in this than in the body. And actually, in the body, like, I almost can't see. Actually, maybe it turned to the back. On the body, I can't see, like, any brown spots. It's just the blue spots and the darker red spots. And in the sleeve, I almost see, like, no red spots, which is kind of funny. Because you can see it in the, like, red purpley spots. Like, you can see it. But, yeah, just thought it was interesting that there's more brown spots. I wasn't sure if that was because I'm working in a smaller circumference, so maybe those color splotches are showing up more frequently than, like, it seems like on the body. But I don't think that it makes it look too completely different. And also it's like really fluffy, and the main kind of like color of the Suri is like a cream white color, and so it's fine, but it was just something I noticed and wanted to share with you. So that is my Milton. It's coming up nicely. So soft. I'm just really excited to have that be cozy. I'm curious because it is alternating between a fingering weight and a Suri. Like, how warm will it be? Because Suri is warm, but it's also very light. And so I don't think it's going to be, like, wind resistant. You know, like, it'll If there's wind, I'll feel it. But Suri's warm and fluffy. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how warm it is. Anyway, did I say I'm making size 2 for that cardigan, and I'm using US 4 needles or 3.5 millimeter needles to knit that. Yeah. Okay, next up is the Ballard Pullover by Sari Nordlund. I did not get as much done on this as I thought I would, but I think it's just because I had a lot of new cast-ons, and so that's why I didn't work on this as much. I was on the sleeve last time. Here, let me just like hold up what I have. It probably looks the same as last week. Because I only worked on a little bit of the sleeve. I believe that this is my stitch marker for where I was last week, and so I just worked like a few inches, maybe a little more than a few inches of the sleeve, but not there yet to finish the sleeve. I wanted to finish the sleeve and do the neckband this week, or this past week, but I just didn't get there, but that's okay. Just wanted to hold this up to remind you that I am making the Ballard Pullover, and I'm enjoying it. I just had other things I was working on this week. So yeah, that's my really quick update on the Ballard Pullover. Yarn is Woolberry Berry Tweed DK in the colorway The Weekend, and I'm knitting size 1, and I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles for this. A lot of my projects are using US 4, US 3 needles. Feel like I need to buy more US 4 and US 3 needles, which I don't, but it feels that way because I'm always like, oh, if I cast on a new project, do I have needles for it? And it's always US 4, it feels like. So yeah. Oh, I have my next project. Really excited to show you progress on this because I did make a lot of progress on this from last time. I just had this much worked up last time. This is my Traveler Shawl by Andrea Mowry. Ta-da! Maybe I'll hold it closer so you can see that. Okay. As a reminder, I am using my Handspun yarn for this. This was my In the Clouds, what I was calling In the Clouds, combo spin from Little Fiber Co. And I'm calling it In the Clouds because it was from the In the Clouds collection from Little Fiber Co. And so I used 3 different fiber braid colors from that collection. One was a pink purple, and then 2 of them was a brown. One was a more variegated brown, and another was a more tonal brown. And it came out looking like this, and I think it's so pretty, and was so excited to knit more of it up. And yeah, it's a little squished on my needles right now, but this is kind of the shape. It's the increase. There's more increases done on one side than the other side. So this stitch marker here is like that point of the shawl. So it's a little asymmetrical shape right now, but it's looking so cute. I'm very happy with this, how this is knitting up. It's looking kind of crazy, but in like a good way, because the yarn has that marled look, I guess you could say, or like barber pulling, because it is like the light pink, or just the pink, lighter color, twisted with the brown, and so it really is this like crazy looking, like, I don't know how to describe how that looks, but I feel like you can see what I mean. It's just like all over craziness, but in like the best way possible. But if you kind of like hold it back a little bit, you can see some of that striping happening from the different colors of the braids. So it might be like you can see parts of where it's pink and purple. Like I think in this stripe right here, this lighter stripe, that is where it's more purple than it is pink. And then you can also tell just in general like where there's darker brown and the lighter brown in the colorway, and so it's just like super fun to just see how a yarn, like a hand spun up the way that I did, looks knitted up with stripes. and the contrasting colors and all of that. So it's been really nice. Did I say what pattern this was? The Traveler Shawl, Andrea Mowry. I am knitting size 2. I think there's 2 sizes for the shawl, and it's basically like a sport DK weight, or, oh no, sport weight or a DK worsted weight? No, fingering weight? I forget. The 2 sizes are basically 2 different weights of yarn. And I'm doing size 2 because I think I got around a DK weight for this yarn. I could be wrong about that as far as like size 1 versus size 2, but I am going to follow the instructions for size 2. But right now, I think the first kind of triangle part that I'm in, I think it's the same for size 1 and size 2, so there's really not that much of a difference right now. I think. I am using US 7 needles, which is 4.5 millimeter needles, to knit this, and so it's a really nice change from what I was just saying before of using like US 4 and 3 needles for all of my projects. So US 7 has been feeling really good, and I was able to get to the point of knowing, in the beginning I was like, what is this pattern repeat? It's 10 row repeat, and I was like, what is happening? And that usually happens for me at the beginning when there's like nothing knitted up, because I can't like see the pattern that I'm creating with the knits. And so now that I understand the pattern repeat, I'm just knitting on this without looking at the pattern, and I just have to make sure I like count the number of repeats I'm doing, and also like the end number of stitches that I need before the next part of the instructions. But yeah, so it's been a nice knit to work on watching TV. This is my TV knit. Because, the rows are just knitting or purling. Just have to remember, it's an I-cord edging on both edges right now, on both ends. And there's just increases that need to be done on one side 2 times, and on the other side just once for every back and forth. So, but it's working out really nicely. Very happy with it. I love it. It feels really squishy. Again, this is Rambouillet. My Handspun is from all Rambouillet fiber, and so it does have just like really nice squishy kind of feeling. And so I'm excited to have like a full shawl that's in a Rambouillet wool base. Very excited. Super exciting. So that is my Traveler Shawl update. So much more. Actually, did I show you? I mean, if you watched last week's episode, maybe you'll remember, but this is my progress marker from last week. I just had like this little triangle done last week, and so I have a lot more. You can see more colors, and so that's always, I think, fun for me to look at all the colors, especially for Handspun. Okay, next up. Okay, so I have 2 more projects to talk about, but they're both my new cast-ons, and so that is all the projects that I worked on that were like already projects from last week. And so the next 2 projects are all new cast-ons. Let's start with this one. This is a French cast-on with Megan. We both cast on the same day at knit night. That was a plan. We both wanted to make this vest, and Megan basically, I was like, I want to make it, I don't know what yarn to make it with, and Megan was like, how about this yarn? And I was like, sounds good. It's perfect. So this is the Lauder vest. We're both making the vest because the Lauder pattern has the vest, the sweater, v-neck, round neck, and is there more? And there's so many versions in this, but we're both going to make the vest, which is a v-neck. And is my lighting failing me? Or like, do I need to tilt it? I'll just like, anyway. Yeah, there, kinda, sort of. You can see the cables more when there's like shadows. Kinda, sorta. Anyway, Lauder vest by Rebecca Clow, the Crayabea. And I think this might be, it's weird. I want to make a lot of her patterns, and I've always been like, oh, I want to make that. It's really cute. And then I like never made it. I think I've made a couple of her patterns. I've test knit for her once. So I'm happy to finally be kind of like working on this, because I thought this was going to be another pattern where I'm like, I love it, and then I just for some reason never make it. The yarn I'm using for this is a yarn that I got from Flock this year. This is So Happy Jane Confetti Worsted. And actually, let me grab a skein right here so that you can see what it looks like in the skein, because I feel like that might be a bit easier to see. If the camera would focus, please, thank you. So it is basically like a cream colored base, and then the only color bits in here are like the confetti tweed, and so there's like a red, green, and yellow tweed color bits in here. And I thought it was really cute. I really wanted to buy a sweater quantity of this. This is a worsted weight. It's 220 yards for 100 grams. It is a 3-ply. I wanted to get a sweater quantity, but I told myself, no, I'll just get enough to... I was initially thinking maybe like a color work thing and this would be the main color, but I had enough to make this vest and I thought that would be perfect. And the thing that for me is really exciting about this yarn is that it is a Shaniko yarn base. And for some reason it doesn't say that on the label, but I know that it's Shaniko because that is like the reason I got it. I think maybe the sign on the when I got it at Flock said that. I'm like pretty sure, like that is almost the whole reason why I was drawn to this in the first place at Flock. But anyway, so I cast this on. Oh, there. Okay, can you see it better now? Okay. So cute. This is the back. This is worked top down. And the cables, I think, are very cute. It's very cable-y. Cables all around. It's the same cable pattern around. Repeat. I think what's really cute is that this detail right here is that there is like a cable that's going across diagonally here from the main pattern, and then it joins at the edge here. I didn't work too much at the edge yet, but it just flows right into the body pattern. And I think that that is really nice and very happy with it. My gauge is pretty good on this. I don't normally gauge swatch for patterns that are not test knits, or for cast-ons that are not test knits, and so I didn't for this, but I took a little measurement of what I have right now, and I'm pretty good on gauge, and so I'm not too worried about it. I was worried because this is a worsted weight yarn, and the pattern says DK weight, but yardage per gram amount for yarn, I think that this might be like almost spot on to the recommended yarn, or the yarn that Rebecca used in her sample. I think it actually might be more of a worsted weight yarn gauge for this. Although I think Megan is actually using a DK weight yarn, and she just had to size up a needle, I think is what she said, to get closer to gauge. And so it, again, really just depends on what kind of fabric you're looking for, but I'm liking how mine is turning out, and I'm very happy with it. And it's very cute in this color. I feel like the tweed color bits aren't super overwhelming, and so it's really nice in all over cabled vest. I mean, there's no vest yet, just the back. But just seeing it knit up, it doesn't look too crazy with the different colored tweed. Like it looks very cute. Yeah, I have like 2 tweed. Is that right? Yeah, 2 tweed knits on my needles right now, and it's been a while since I worked with tweed. So I guess I was like, let's cast on all the tweed. But yeah, it feels nice also to be working with yarn that I got from Flock pretty quickly, and so it's all around feeling really good. Knitting with this is very nice. It's going to be a great vest. It feels very soft, it feels very squishy. I can tell it is a 3-ply because it is that, like, when people say 3-plies feel more round, like it just feels, I know what they mean now by it feeling round. It kind of feels thick. Or plump, maybe is the better word, but like it just feels thicker. But now I know that feeling I feel is probably means it's a 3-ply kind of thing. I don't know. Could also just be making it up in my head, but yeah, this is my Lauder vest. Did I mention sizing? I'm knitting size 1. I was in between knitting size 1 and size 2 because I feel like I'm always like I don't like anything to be too small on me. I generally like oversized things or sizing. But the recommended ease, I think size 1 would fit for me. And it would still give me about 4 inches of positive ease, which is pretty good. And so I also, actually the one thing that made it up for me was that size 2, I probably, yardage wise, it was kind of close. Like I was just a little bit under size 2 yardage, and I probably would have been fine. But I want to feel safe. I never like feeling like I'm going to run out of yarn. So size 1 worked for that. So yeah, and then I'm using US 3 needles. This was another project I had to search for some US 3 needles to cast this on, because all the ones that I knew where they were on projects. But yeah, so US 3 needles, which is 3.25 millimeter needles. And it's been going really nicely. I'm very happy with it. I can't wait to work on it more. I'm hoping to I would just love to see it finally. I love knitting on projects like they're worked top down, and to finally get them just connected under the arm. And I love that because you can actually hold it up and for it to like look like something. But yeah, so that's the Lauder vest, my first new cast on. And then my next new cast on, if you follow me on Instagram, you maybe have seen this. I did make a post of this cast on because it is using my Yarn Jam Handspun yarn, the arieknits colorway fiber. I finally cast it on, and I knit a whole bunch as quick as I could so that I could get a post out on Instagram so you can see how it looks knitted up before the release of the Yarn Jam Podcaster collection fiber, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about over and over again. But I'm just so in love with it and the whole idea of the collection, and it did come out. It is available to buy now. I think a lot of colorways have sold out for the in-stock fiber, but there is a pre-order for all of the colorway fibers and for both of the bases, the Shaniko and the Shaniko Tweed. So if you're still interested in looking at some of those colors and purchasing some, then yeah, they're still available on yarnjam.com for pre-order. I think there's still some Confetti Tweed fiber available in stock, and so yeah, definitely check that out. But anyway, let me show you guys all on the podcast now this new cast on. Oh, this is the first time I'm seeing it on camera. This is the framed sweater by Andrea Mowry. And okay, just going back a little bit story-wise, when I got these fiber braids and was spinning and was trying to decide what I wanted to knit with them, my original plan was to make a pressed flowers shawl, and I still want to make that. However, around that same time, Andrea Mowry released her framed sweater, which is her Rhinebeck sweater pattern for this year, and I'm not going to Rhinebeck, but I saw this pattern and I was like, it is so cute, would work so well with Handspun. And then I believe Trisha from Yarn Jam and Marlene from Marlene Knits both, I don't know who I heard or saw from first that they are going to spin and knit this sweater. And Marlene is also using her Yarn Jam colorway to make this sweater, and I was like, I want to join. Sounds amazing. I got enough, well, now I have enough fiber to make this sweater, and yeah, kind of just like all came together. It's like a mini knit along with them and along with some other people in the group who are also, I think everyone is spinning some part of the sweater to knit. And I was so, okay, it took me I think a little over a week to figure out what contrast color I wanted with my Handspun. By the way, my Handspun is the lighter pastel colors. That is the Handspun color, and I wasn't sure what contrast color to go with for it, because I think, at least with Andrea Mowry's version, her color changing, I'm pretty sure she used Spin Cycle yarn, was a darker color. And then she did the ribbing. So, okay, the original pattern has 3 different yarn colors. The color changing was in this, that quilt color work section was a darker color changing spin cycle. Then the other color for it to go with that to contrast was like a white color, or just like a white, more neutral color, so that it pops. There's a lot of contrast, a dark color changing and a light contrast. And then a matching dark for the ribbing and for the top. But for me, I was like, I can't use a white, I considered having a low contrast and using a white background color for my handspun for the quilt pattern section, color work. But I was really worried about it being too low contrast where you couldn't see it. And one of my friends told me, like, I would probably be very sad or disappointed with the low contrast to do all of this work and not be able to see the pattern. So I was like, okay, darker color it is. And I was like, I would rather, this might be too much information, but I was like, if I did a dark color, let's pretend I don't have the ribbing on the bottom, right? If I did a darker color for this, what color ribbing would I want if I were to do the 3 color choice for this pattern? And I was like, if it was light for the ribbing, like a light pink, would that look weird? Because I feel like color choice for this pattern would make me like it or not like it, So I was like thinking about it, and then I was just like, I think it would just be best to do the same ribbing color as a contrast color for the body. And so I am not doing, that's a very long way of me saying I am not doing 3 colors for this sweater. I'm just doing 2. So it is just my light colored handspun along with a darker contrast color. And I really, really like how this is coming out. Look at that. It's so cute. It is better than I couldn't even imagine what it would look like in the pattern with the handspun and how it would knit up. But like, I'm so happy with how this is turning out. You can see just like that really, because the colors are so light and pastel, maybe from far away you can't tell that it's all different colors, but if you look closely you can see like down here, like the first kind of like row of this quilt pattern is more blue, and then this one's a bit more pink. Wow. I love how the color changing of the light color is looking up on this, and it makes me so happy, and I'm really glad to finally have this on the needles. And it actually didn't take as long to knit up as I thought it would, which is really nice because color work is not my favorite thing to do. You do have to catch your floats on this. However, I used to always just like twist my yarn, and I was always so annoyed by it. I hated doing catching your floats because I would have like my 2 yarn, and I would make sure I twist it like this so that it's not twisted as I keep knitting in the round. But I looked at, in the pattern, Andrea Mowry linked to either a video or like a web page that had instructions, but probably also a video on how to catch your floats in a really nice way. And it was a game changer for me because I don't have to move my yarn. I just keep them next to each other and I'm good. And the way that I do color work is I do hold each strand, at least for 2 color. I don't think I've ever done a 3 color work, but for 2 color, I just hold, when I'm knitting, I hold 1 color in my left hand and then the other in my right hand, and I just switch off between which hand I'm using, to knit. And I think for me that works out well because when I started knitting, I knit, what is it called? Is it English style knitting? The one where you use your right hand to wrap your yarn around. And then I changed to continental knitting where you have it in your left hand and you knit. So switching for me in between, I prefer continental knitting, and that feels more natural to me now, but I at least kind of like knew how to, you know, knit using the right hand, or with the yarn in my right hand, so just switch back and forth. It is slow to knit color work, but I have to just remind myself to just enjoy the process. It is not a race, even though I so badly want to see more of this knit up, but I'm obsessed. This came out so nice. Also, did I say this? I didn't talk about the yarn yet. Just a little bit about the Handspun, but just a real quick story also, which I've said before, but I just want to talk about it again, was that when I was choosing the contrast color for this, I had lots of my friends help me pick out the color, the contrast color, and so thank you, friends, for helping me pick that out. I'm really, really happy with the results. Yeah, and speaking of yarn and colors now, so again, the Handspun I am using is my, both from Yarn Jam. Trisha from Yarn Jam is just the best. Handspun is fiber. This is the Shaniko fiber from Yarn Jam. It is a merino Rambouillet sheep fiber. And let me just actually like grab the skeins too. They're just right here. So this is the arieknits colorway. This is part of the podcaster collection that I was a part of, and so this was the colorway for me that Trisha helped to develop. Basically, she did all the hard work, and I was just like, I love it. It's so cute. And it turned out so nice. I'm so in love with this. And so this is the Handspun I'm using. I spun it to about a DK weight. This is another thing I do want to talk about. It's about a DK weight. And the yarn corresponding, or the contrast, no, this would be the main color, I guess, of the sweater, is also from Yarn Jam, because she doesn't just sell fiber, she also sells yarn as well. And this is in Shaniko, 100% Shaniko yarn. So it is the same base as this fiber, same, fiber, sheep fiber. And the base is called Natural DK. So this is, again, a DK weight yarn, and this colorway is Cedar. Very pretty brown, I think. And so the pattern calls for a worsted weight yarn. So this is why I want to talk about it just a little bit. Calls for a worsted weight yarn. But I feel like I've read maybe on some Ravelry project pages or heard from people that they use DK weight yarn and it worked just fine. As long as your DK weight maybe is just a little bit more plump and is not, a thin DK weight. Because I got gauge with this, and there's like no holes. It's not like this is a loose knit at all with the DK weight. But I do think maybe it's because the Shaniko yarn is a bit of a floofier, squishy kind of yarn. Because actually, yeah, for the natural DK, this is 260 yards for 100 grams. I feel like some other DK weights from like hand dyed yarn places are 231. I feel like is the most common I see, but this is 260. But it's still DK weight, and it doesn't feel thin at all. I think it's just like the plumpness of this yarn. But for me, it's working out really well. Of course, for you, you probably should do a little bit of a swatch. I was actually planning on doing just a swatch of this so that I could post a picture of the swatch. But I was like, I did a little swatch, and I was like, I forgot that it was that it was color work. And I was like, I don't enjoy doing swatches in the round. Like, it feels fiddly. And so I did a little bit of it, and I was like, I think gauge it looks good enough. And so I just cast on the whole sweater. But yeah, so this is the Framed by Andrea Mowry, and I'm just really happy with it. I am knitting size 2. I want this to be oversized. This is within, I think, the recommended ease. Like, I think I'm getting like 10 inches maybe around there of positive ease, and so this should be really good. And I'm using US It was US 5 needles for the ribbing, which is 3.75 millimeter needles, and then US 7 needles, which is 4.5 millimeter needles for the colorwork section. And so I'm using the recommended needle size. And it's working up really nicely. Okay, really quickly for the spinning update, I have a finished spin, almost finished spin. I finished plying this morning, so it still needs a wash and stuff. Needs some finishing done to it, but I finished this spin. This was really, did I start this last week or the week before that? This was fiber I got from Flock as well. This is the Sincere Sheep Merino and Angora Bunny fiber, and I got 2 skeins of this at Flock, and each one was 2 ounces. So this is about 4 ounces. I didn't actually weigh it yet, but it should be around 4 ounces, so I get like a full skein of yarn. And I spun this supported long draw because the yarn was a roving, and it looked like the fiber was kind of all like a woolen prepped kind of yarn, or at least looked more like that than in like really like combed top kind of prep. And so I thought a long draw would be good, and it spun really nicely with long draw. It felt like it spun so easily with long draw, and it was really, really nice. I think I was pretty consistent for a long draw. This might be one of my more consistent spins. I'm going to try and hold it up a little closer here. And I love this color. It is a dark brown, and there's some little bits of white. There are definitely sections where it is a bit, there's a little floof bits in there just from the spinning where it just catches. I think for long draw, it's more, you get more of those floofy bits a bit more often, but I kind of like that, especially for, yeah, just like a woolen spun yarn, and it's just has that extra fluff that's kind of coming off of it. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it really is kind of like fluffy and halo-y kind of. And it just looks so nice. Feels really nice. I'm really excited to wash this and see how it looks after doing all of like the finishing stuff to it. Which for me basically is just washing or like soaking it in water and then doing the thing where you have it and you do this with your arms and then hanging it to dry. That's basically all I do. But I'm really excited to see how this finishes up, but it's feeling really good. I did a 2-ply with this, and so because I had 2 ounce skeins, I just spun each of them end to end on 2 separate bobbins, and then I plied them together. So it's a nice 2-ply. Really, really happy with this spin. Really excited. So, don't know what I'm going to knit with it yet, but sometimes with my spins, I don't want to knit with it right away because I want to enjoy it in its skein form, in its just like yarn form, you know? So that is my finished spin. I'll probably show it again next week after I wash it so that you can also see the difference or not really difference with me. But yeah, so that is that, and then that was my only spin this week, and because I finished it, I am thinking about what to put on my spinning wheel next, and I think what it will be is actually more yarn jam. I hope you're not too tired of me talking about this, but it really is just like Shaniko wool is like my favorite yarn right now to spin and also to knit with, and so I'm just going all in with it. This is the Yarn Jam Arieknits colorway, but in the Confetti Tweed fiber, and so it has all of those colorful tweed bits in it, and I haven't spun my colorway in the tweed version of it yet, and I have seen Emily from Gently Chaotic Knits spin and knit with her colorway in the Confetti fiber, and it's so cute, and so I feel like it is finally now time for me to also spin with the Confetti version of this. And yeah, so this is probably what I'm going to prep next for my spin. I'm really really excited about this, and yeah, and just another reminder, if you do want to buy some of this podcaster collection fiber, if not my colorway, but some of the other people's colorway who are in the collection as well. You can get a 15% off discount one-time code, so just make sure in your purchase of it you get everything you want. The discount code is arieknits. I'll have it in the description below. Name of this podcast, all in caps. So yeah, don't forget to use the discount code if you're planning on buying some fiber for this. I'm really, really excited. Some of you have messaged me saying that you're excited to use or spin with Shaniko wool, and I hope you love it because I love it, and I just want everyone to feel the amazingness. Look, it's just like a pillow. Like, I could just use this. I just want to do this with the Shaniko wool. It's so soft and it's so fluffy. It's really so good. So anyway, Yarn Jam, arieknits, colorway. This will be my next spin. I'm excited to see how it looks because it looks cute in the braid, and I can't wait to see how it looks with the tweed bits in there. And yeah, that is all I have to talk about this week. It's I think a bit of a shorter video this week, but I hope you still all enjoyed it. I just wanted to give a quick update about my location. I moved back into my craft room. I was in my craft room before in my some videos, and then I moved out of it into a different room to film because we were working on this room. And I don't know if you could tell because it was hard to see. The lighting was weird in some of the other videos, but I painted this wall right behind me a light pink color. And so this whole room before was painted like a light blue-green color, and it's a nice color. It was fine, but not really what I want for this room. And so I painted all of the walls white except for this wall right here, which is it is light pink. And I'm not done yet with my setup in this room as far as like all of my yarn. And so you'll see I just have some like temporary shelves right now up, and some other, I don't know if that's where they're going to be. I am getting more shelves for this room for my yarn. And so when that happens though, I am planning, I still need to research and look into how to do this, but I am planning on doing a live stream of unpacking my yarn into my new closets. Are they closets? They're just, I'm getting IKEA closets. So they call it closet. It's the thing with the drawers, the Billy bookcase. I think that's what it's called. I'm gonna get those for my yarn. And I think I'm supposed to get them pretty soon, hopefully. So yeah, scheduling is a bit crazy right now as far as when I can do certain activities because there's still a lot of things to work on around here, not yarn related, and so gotta figure that out. But I think it's slowly coming together. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you're excited about it too. So with that, that is all I have for you all this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all had a great week, and I hope you all have a great upcoming week, and thank you again so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much, and I love having you here and commenting and telling me all about what you're also knitting on, because you all seriously give me such good ideas for yarn and pattern new cast-ons and all of that. So thank you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.